Costco's success defies all retail logic. Let's look at the scale. $275.2 billion. As your professional stickman guide for this explainer, I analyze a lot of data, but Costco's 2025 total revenue still absolutely makes my jaw drop. It makes them a literal retail juggernaut. But how they actually got there? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack right now, because it completely flips the traditional script on how to sell. Now, what's really interesting about this number, 145.2 million in 2025, is that these aren't just random shoppers. No, these are paying members. People are happily handing over an annual fee just for the privilege of walking through the doors. It creates this massive psychological commitment. It's a loyalty loop where you actively want to buy in bulk just to, earn back your fee. This sunk cost fallacy gives Costco an incredibly stable foundation of recurring revenue before you even put a single item in your cart. And it's super easy to think of this whole warehouse club thing as just a uniquely American phenomenon. But honestly, their model translates seamlessly overseas. Despite starting out incredibly small, they have absolutely conquered the globe. As of 2026, we're talking operations in 14 different countries, boasting 924 massive warehouse locations worldwide. From Iceland and France to Japan and Australia, the model just works everywhere. By 2021, this huge footprint made them the third largest retailer in the entire world. And get this, when they opened their first warehouse in Shanghai, China back in 2019, the crowds were so overwhelmingly massive they literally had to close the doors after just a couple of hours. But this empire didn't just spring up overnight. The true origins actually go back to 1976. That's when entrepreneur Saul Price founded Price Club in some old airplane hangars in San Diego, originally serving only small businesses. 7 years later, Jim Sinegal, who'd actually worked for Price, teamed up with Jeff Brotman to open the very first Costco in Seattle in 1983. Both of these companies were innovating and growing ridiculously fast. So, in 1993, these two mega rivals realized they were a perfect match and executed a mega merger to create Price Costco. Thankfully, by 1997, they streamlined the brand and reverted right back to the universally recognized Costco name we all know today. The momentum from that 1983 launch by Jim Sinegal and Jeff Brotman was completely unprecedented. They became the first company ever to grow from absolutely zero to $3 billion in sales in under 6 years. Just think about that trajectory for a second. Before the internet, way before e-commerce, they scaled a physical brick-and-mortar retail business at a speed the world had quite literally never seen before. So how on earth did they scale so fast? Well, by actively choosing limited selection over variety. While a typical supermarket tries to overwhelm you with around 30,000 distinct items, Costco stocks only about 4,000. By eliminating that whole paradox of choice and offering just 1 or 2 premium options per category, they can buy an immense bulk and pass on some truly unparalleled savings to us. It reduces decision fatigue for the consumer and maximizes purchasing power for the retailer. It's a total win-win. But maintaining those super low prices means playing some serious hardball. They use highly efficient hardline tactics with their suppliers. If a manufacturer's wholesale price is just too high, Costco will simply refuse to stock the item. No joke, they famously did this to Coca-Cola in 2009. Literally pulled their products from the shelves until a pricing dispute was finally resolved. Plus, unlike traditional supermarkets, they don't charge suppliers slotting fees for shelf space. Instead, they demand pure efficiency. Suppliers must package items in large sizes and place them perfectly on pallets, ready to be driven straight off the truck and onto the warehouse floor by a forklift. Okay, now we arrive at the absolute secret sauce of their entire merchandising strategy, Kirkland Signature. Launched back in 1995, this private label brand was actually named after the location of Costco's former corporate headquarters in Kirkland, Washington. The whole idea was to offer products with name brand quality, but at heavily discounted prices. So just how successful is this generic house brand? $86 billion. Let that sink in. In 2024 alone, Kirkland Signature pulled in enough money to be a massive Fortune 500 company entirely in its own right. It accounts for nearly a third of all company sales, continuously outpacing the growth of Costco's overall sales. But how do they get us to trust a generic label so deeply? Strategic co-branding. Costco actually teams up with famous manufacturers to produce their Kirkland goods. So when you buy Kirkland products, you're often actually buying goods made by top-tier brands like Starbucks, Jelly Belly, Ocean Spray, and Keurig Green Mountain. And for the manufacturers, it's a massive win because they get access to huge sales volume without having to spend a single dime on marketing. Of course, all these clever supply chains fall apart without flawless execution. So let's shift gears and look at the internal culture that keeps this massive operation humming day in and day out. The crucial point here is loyalty. As of 2024, Costco boasts a retention rate of over 90% for new employees who reach their one-year mark. In the notoriously high turnover world of retail, an employee retention rate that high is almost unheard of. It means their workforce is highly experienced, super efficient, and just deeply loyal. And why are they so loyal? Because the company actually actively rewards them. Even speaking as a highly professional stickman, I've got to say, I admire their benefits package. With 95% of their workforce located right there in the warehouses, they have this deeply ingrained promote-from-within culture. In fact, their current CEO, Ron Vatras, actually started his career back in 1982 driving a forklift at a Price Club. When your executives have literally worked the warehouse floor, the entire corporate culture stays tightly aligned with the realities of the front line. Which brings us to the final checkpoint. You've navigated the pallets, you've loaded up your oversized cart, and you've finally checked out. But before you can actually leave, you have to pass this iconic final step. The exit greeters. Used since their very first store opened in Seattle back in 1983, these folks are trained to quickly count your cart's contents, matching it right up to the receipt. And it serves this brilliant dual purpose. First, it's a highly effective inventory control mechanism. And second, it's a customer service step to make absolutely sure you weren't double charged and didn't miss any items hiding down on the bottom rack of your cart. It's just one last touch point of efficiency before you head out to your car. So, with unmatched member loyalty, billions in Kirkland sales, and a fiercely dedicated workforce, Costco has completely rewritten the rules of retail. Looking at their massive success, you really have to ask yourself, can traditional retail ever actually catch up to this warehouse giant? Or are those 30,000 item supermarkets simply destined to be left in the dust?